Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. You guys, it is so early, you are not going to believe it. It is currently 9:09 a.m. Can you believe it? And I have been sitting out here since like 6:45 this morning. I have drank an entire cup of water and I have been drinking iced coffee and I have been reading meditations. I've read these. Well, I've read like three the Melody Beatty books, and then I read those two, and I have these three left, so I thought that I would get on here and read a meditation. Burali didn't even want to get up to go outside. He's like, it's too early. What are you doing to me? It's too early. I went to bed very, very early last night, and I went to bed just to kind of like take a nap, and I ended up like falling asleep for the whole night, and it's so interesting. I'm going to talk about this in my vlog, but for those of you that watch my vlog, I've had such a hard time sleeping lately. And so for a long time, like during the winter and the early spring when it was still cold in our room, I had this, so we have like this huge, like we have different comforters. We have a gray one, we have a white one, we have the one in the winter and all that kind of stuff. But I would put this white waffle blanket that I call grandma's blanket, because it kind of reminds me of like a grandma's blanket or something, over the comforter, right? And so I had it over the comforter, but I have had it folded and at the end of the bed because it's been warmer recently, right? I mean, it's not like it adds tons of warmth anyway, but it just kind of adds some like weight to the comforter. So like 2 nights ago, people always recommend like a weighted blanket to me. And one of the reasons why I don't use a weighted blanket is because they say if you have dogs that like burrow under the blanket, weighted blankets are dangerous for that because sometimes they can't get out or they can't breathe. And so I don't want to use a weighted blanket for that, even though my brother-in-law and his fiance bought me one for Christmas like 2 years ago. So the other night I was like, you know, I don't want to use the weighted blanket, but I used to use this waffle blanket. Why don't I put the waffle blanket back on? And I did. And both nights I've used it. I have slept fantastically. So I am fully rested. I am up and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm making videos. I've already made a video for my Peter Monn channel, which I will tell you is very similar to this channel today. It's about taking accountability. So you might want to go check out that video because it's a very calm. I actually read a meditation in the video from the Linda Picone book. But I wanted to read a meditation since I have 3 left to read. But I also wanted to talk about something, a comment that I got in my video. And I want to make this clear. I'm not doing this to challenge this person. I'm doing it to bring attention to this. Because yesterday in my video, I was talking about guilt. I think it was yesterday in my video. The last video that I made, I was talking about guilt, and I said something to the effect of that guilt as a character defect, right? And I knew as soon as it came out that a lot of people were going to be like, well, guilt's not really a character defect, or a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's interesting, like, how can guilt be a character defect? And so I got this comment on my video, and it said, and this is somebody that's very supportive of me that has watched my channel for a long time, so I just want to say that. Guilt is a character defect. I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like guilt is a necessary emotion. It means we actually acknowledge what we did was wrong and we feel bad for it. Staying in guilt isn't beneficial to us, but feeling guilty for what we did is necessary and actually shows we are an emotionally mature person. And I want to say, I 100% agree with that statement. Like, I really, really do. Like she said, I don't believe that guilt, that we want to stay in it. But do I believe that it's a point of awareness to what we've done wrong and it's an emotional response to that? Absolutely. I do 100% agree with that. And like I said, when I said it in my video yesterday, I knew that there were going to be people that didn't agree with it necessarily, right? But I did want to tell you guys that I looked it up because I was like, I'm pretty sure guilt is a character defect as defined by 12-step programs. And so I looked in here and I said, and I looked up what are the 7 character defects, because there are 7 main character defects as defined by 12-step programs. And because they're based on like the 7 deadly sins, and the character defects are greed, anger, fear, cowardice, egotism, guilt, dishonesty, and impatience. Now, and that's not, and like I said, I'm not doing this to like prove myself, like, oh, I'm so perfect or whatever, but I just wanted, for those of you that wanted to know what the 7 character defects are, but there's many, many more, okay, that people work on in recovery, but those are the 7 main ones. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that there's a recovery book, but anybody could read this book, okay? You don't have to just be a person in recovery to read this book. And the book is called Drop the Rock. And basically what the book is about, and the analogy of dropping the rock, is about people that are in this boat, okay, and they're trying to make it into shore, and they have this chain of rocks around their neck, and each rock represents a character defect. And so it's like you have to drop this rock that you're holding on to, right, to get into shore, to swim, and to be free, okay? And so the book is about ridding yourself of character defects, and basically they go through and they relate the character defects to the 7 deadly sins, okay? But they also, it's a lot of people sharing their experiences, their strength, their hope, about how they work through character defects in their life. It's a phenomenal book. It's not, so when we talk about 12-step programs, there's what's called 12-step approved literature, and those are books that are put out by 12-step programs, like the basic text of each program, things like that, okay? There are what's called 12-step approved literature by that program. And then there are books on the outside. Drop the Rock is not a 12-step approved literature, but it is a recovery book, just like this meditation book called Seek Sobriety, Find Serenity by Rabbi Twersky, who is very well known in the recovery community. And I love this meditation book. I think this was my mom's, actually. Oh, no, this was actually my mom's sponsor. My mom's sponsor's name is at the top of that. So let's see what the meditation is in here today. Well, no, I didn't. I read the one from yesterday. Oh, that was interesting. So anyway, well, we won't read from that because it's very recovery-based today. But, what was I going to say? So that would be a fantastic book for you to read. And like I said, you don't have to be somebody in recovery. Like I will tell you, I will tell you that it is heavily saturated in recovery language. You don't have to be a person in recovery to work on it, to read it and to understand it. And so many of us have character defects in and out of recovery, right? But I did think that that was an interesting stance. So, like I said, I wasn't proving that point to, like, be like, oh, I'm so perfect, or I know what I'm talking about. And in all honesty, like, when I said that in my video, like, I was pretty sure that it was, like, a character defect as defined by 12-step program, but, like, but it doesn't really matter, you know, and there are so many character defects. I mean, if you look up a list of character defects online, not just defined by 12-step program, you're going to find tons and tons of tons. Like, let me look up, if I can just, hold on a second. It's like when you look up feelings, you know, I can only ever come up with about 4 feelings, but like when you look up like a feelings chart, okay, here it is, character defects, oh my god. Okay, character feelings, and it goes through, and, hold on, that's not what I want to look up. What are considered character defects? Anger and hatred, selfishness and self-centeredness, being dishonesty and lying regularly, defensiveness, constantly playing the victim, blaming self and others, antagonistic, closed-mindedness. And I think those probably more closely align with character defects that we would agree with, right? Like, those would probably be closer to what we would think of as typical character defects. But I just wanted to make that clear. So anyway, but thank you for your comment about that. I really appreciate that. And like I said, I love when people share opposing points of view, and I think that your opinion in there was completely firmly based. Like, I definitely agree with what she said, you know, that I think that it's an important feeling to feel guilt as an emotional response to things that we've done, to be aware that, wow, what I did, there's something there's something not right about that, like, so I feel guilty. Guilt is like a, you know, a red flag to ourselves of, I mean, I think that's where, you know, you start getting worrisome about people. Like, I didn't want to throw out some you know, what do you call it, labels of different types of people. But I think that's when you start getting worrisome about people, right? When they don't have any guilt about certain things that they've done. I mean, I think most of us have interacted with people that they have no empathy, no emotional response, no guilt about anything towards anyone or anything that they've done in their life, right? Like, you say, like, don't you feel bad about this, and this? And they're like, no, not. I mean, have you ever interacted with somebody like that and you're like, how can you not feel guilty about that at all? So I think it was a really important comment. I really appreciate it. So thank you. All right, now I want to read one meditation because I haven't, well, I guess in like 2 days on this channel. So let me see what A Time to Be Free, Daily Meditations for Enhancing Self-Esteem. Let's see what the meditation is about today. Should we read this? Okay. Affirmation. July 22nd, affirmation. The past is now behind me. I have come to terms with yesterday and have no fear of tomorrow. My thoughts and energies are directed to the present, this place, this day, this moment. Today I neither turn my back, you know, this would have been such an appropriate meditation to read from my video that I did on my Peter Monn channel. Today I neither turn my back on the past nor revisit it morbidly or needlessly, because I view my previous life from a new vantage point. It no longer has the power to harm or haunt me. On the contrary, my past has become one of my most valued assets. Certainly, it is a storehouse of useful information which can help me to make new connections and to heighten my self-awareness. If I remember the bitterness and confusion of the past, it is unlikely that I'll ever have to live that way again. Moreover, those memories can aid me in keeping present adversities in perspective. Wow, few things these days are as serious as they might first seem. Because of my past experiences, I have become a more understanding and empathetic person. I can often identify with the pain, life struggles, and unresolved problems of my fellows, and perhaps be of service. This is a powerful thought for today. I won't allow myself to forget the past, but neither will I allow its memories to detract from the present. There's a recovery saying that's actually in the preamble of one of the 12-step programs that says, we do not forget the past nor do we close the door on it. And I think it's such a pertinent statement to say, you know, like, I'm not going to forget what happened in the past. I'm not going to forget what I did. I'm not going to forget the mistakes that I made. I'm like, you know, I'm not going to, you know, like this comment. It was such a great comment to this meditation, right? Like, I think it's important to feel guilt, but I don't want to stay in it, right? But I'm also not going to forget the past, you know, like, and I'm not going to close the door on it. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say that those things don't happen, but I don't want to stay in it forever either, you know? Like, I don't want to, I think I misquoted that. We don't forget the past nor do we close the door on it. Is that the right saying? Am I getting that wrong? I don't know. Somebody out there correct me. Somebody knows. But it's, you know, it's like, we don't want to live in our past forever. We want to learn from it. We want to continue to grow and move through the pain and change and become different people. But we don't want to live in the past forever. Who wants to live in it? You know? Well, I mean, I like to tell stories from the past and memories and stuff like that, but that's different, okay? That's different than constantly living in the mistakes of your past and beating yourself up for it. Like she said, you know, like, I think it's important to feel guilty, but I don't want to feel guilty for the rest of my life. No, who does? Nobody does, right? I think it's such an important comment to make, you know, that, like, and I think that's one place where we get stuck. And then I think that kind of goes to self-victimization a little bit. That sometimes, like, we go to this point where it's like, we beat ourselves up so bad about, like, all these things that we did in our past, and we're just like, well, you know, it's like yesterday when I was talking about, like, not allowing yourself to move on from things that you did in your past and how to grow from that and things like that, right? And then it's like, at some point, it's like you have to just allow yourself the grace and the freedom to move through that and say, well, I've done some work, and I am different than I used to be, and I have taken accountability, and I have worked on myself, and I have tried to make relationships right, and I have tried to be a better person, and I can show this by these things. Now, if you can show it to other people, then you can show it to yourself, and you deserve grace. But I think sometimes what happens is that goes to victimization, right? Because when that doesn't work, and sometimes we can't forgive ourselves. I mean, I think, like, that is probably, when I just said that, I know there were just some, like, people's skin that just, like, crawled, right? Because I think that's a huge issue for a lot of people, that, and I've dealt with that a lot in my past, right? Where you're like, I can't forgive myself. Like, I hurt this person so deeply or whatever, but you deserve to forgive yourself, you know? And I've had to do that over time as well, you know? You don't deserve to stay in, you know, hell, hurting yourself and guilt-tripping yourself and feeling bad forever. And I think what happens is we often can't forgive ourselves, so then what it goes to is, it goes to self-victimization, right? Because the flip side of that is, well, I can't forgive myself, so then what I'm going to do is pity myself. You know, that's kind of the response to that, which isn't healthy either, right? Like, I don't think that we want to pity ourselves or victimize ourselves. Like, I don't get anything out of that. I don't get anything out of pitying myself or victimizing myself or any of those things, and I don't think most people do, you know? So, this was such a great meditation. I really, really liked this. The past is now behind me. I have come to terms with yesterday and have no fear of tomorrow. My thoughts and energies are directed to the present, this place, this day, this moment. I won't allow myself to forget the past, but neither will I allow its memories to detract me from the present. I won't allow myself to forget the past, but neither will I allow its memories to detract me from the present. You could take that in a lot of different ways, but I think when you're talking about, like, things you've learned from mistakes of your past, or things you've learned from things you've done in your past, right? It means that we're not going to ever forget that. We're not going to close the door on it, but we're not going to stay stuck in it either. It's a great meditation. I love that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. I love you guys so much. You know, let's work on moving forward, moving through the pain. Let's work on, you know, forgiving ourselves and loving ourselves a little bit more each and every day. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.